right, what happens when you mash up Chris's dream profession of shirtless sax player with the Goonies and Dracula? Well, you get this 1987 film. Because today we're talking movies. We're talking The Lost Boys, starring Jason Patric, Corey Haim, and Kiefer Sutherland. Written by Jan Fisher, James Jeremias, and Jeffrey Boone. Directed by Joel Schumacher. Great. The Blood-Sucking Brady Bunch.
My own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire. You wait till Mom finds out about this, buddy. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Lost Boys from 1987. And yet again, we have a horror expert, and I feel like he really likes this movie, so we're going to kick it over right away. Scott, The Lost Boys, let's go.
Is this what you're going to do all October? You're a horror expert. Like, first of all, I'm not a horror expert. I like the genre of horror. That does not make me an expert on it.
Compared to me, that makes you a fucking expert. It's like if you like guacamole and I don't like guacamole, you are now a guacamole expert as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Luckily, I like guacamole, so we're good. I like guacamole a lot more than I like The Lost Boys. I'll tell you that much.
Where the hell are you from?
Are you serious? Oh my God.
Yeah,
no.
Oh, yeah. Go.
Like, really?
Go. Yeah, this. I feel like this is, you haven't said it, but I feel like this is like one of your favorite movies because you've like referenced it or brought it up in conversation, I think, the entire period I've known you. So
this is one of the movies that I watch every October. Yeah, well, it didn't make me, but no, like for me, I was 6 years old when this movie came out. Mm-hmm. My sister's older, and I remember when this movie came out, she was obsessed with it because it was literally like fucking hot guys, like the whole time. So she would watch it and I would watch it too, and then it would fuck me up because at the time we shared a room and like my bed was facing the door and she had a fucking poster of Richard Grieco that would like stare at me, and then when a car would pass by, like if it braked, the lights would like fucking go in his eyes all red, and I would be fucked up because of this movie, right? So I literally have to rewatch this movie all the time to just desensitize it. Like it's a childhood trauma.
That story is better than the 90 minutes of The Lost Boys. I'll tell you right now. I want a movie of that. Richard Grieco poster eyes scaring young Scott in 2022. Scott Vega, Richard Grieco in The Poster Boy.
I'm sure he's looking for the work.
He probably is. Hold on. I'm getting a tweet. Richard Grieco, what's the day rate? New phone, who this?
Well, yeah,
okay. So you've watched this movie bazillion times.
Numerous times. And like, I'm super surprised, like, that you do not like this movie.
So I just found it a bit like it's okay. So first off, and I was talking to our producer before we kicked off today. We got to keep this sucker in context, okay? Like it's like you said, it's kind of like the Goonies and vampires. It's a 1987 film. It's got the two Coreys. Like let's be very clear. This is not fucking art. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It was never meant to be some big, cinematic fucking experience here. This is like, I mean, even at the time, they had an $8.5 million budget. I mean, that's solid. Like that's a solid budget, but I mean, this is not game-changing kind of cinema. So in that context,
I would disagree. Like this film, like from release to now, is often imitated but never duplicated.
Okay, you gotta flesh out that comment, man. What do you mean?
This is like, if you look at vampire films prior,
okay,
like the ones.
But give me an example.
Popular ones at the time. You're looking at the Hammer horror, Christopher Lee, right? Dracula's, like those vampire films. You always had an older man as the vampire, right? They'd always kind of go on to that. This is the first time where
vampire movies had like a bit of a daddy issue going on. You know what I mean? A lot of older men.
older men, younger women, right?
There we go.
But yeah, this one you're looking at teens, right? Like people that are young, sexy. Like technically, if they were going to make this today, which I think they're trying to remake it into a TV show, but if they were going to make this into a movie or remake it, like I wouldn't be surprised if Timothy Chalamet or whoever your guy is the new David, right? And then you can have who else? Who else would be like hot and young right
Adam
now?
Driver might be in it because you need a
No,
solid
he's too
actor.
old.
He's too old. Okay, he's too old.
He's too old because you got to go into like Tom Holland. Tom Holland would probably play the Corey Haim part.
Zendaya right? As Star, that kind of thing.
Exactly, right? Which I'm pretty sure they are remaking it now. It's none of these people. But hey, casting directors, call me. But yeah, same thing. This was one of the first ones where you had the facial switches from what I remember too, where you have the young angelic face that turns into the Nosferatu face, right? That it kind of references the old and the new. And, a fucking kick-ass pumping soundtrack. Like, after this movie, you're like, little sister. You're pumping that. You're like,
I have to admit, and the use of Strange by the Doors or whatever, or Faces Coming Out there, I think it's called Strange. I don't know, maybe our producer, When You're Strange, whatever the actual title of that Doors song is. There's that opening sequence, right, where they're in Santa Carla, which is I think Santa Monica. That opening sequence with the Doors playing over top of it, I'm like that's still, and even though I don't love this film, even like it has stuck in my mind since probably the first time I watched it. Like they definitely could use a good use of music and scoring. That Lost Boys song, like where there's like the thou shall not kill. I'm not even
the Cry Little Sister.
Yeah. That also is like so well used. There's definitely some interesting editing going on and overlays and stuff like that and dissolves.
Yeah, like if you, in terms of that song, right? Like the minute you hear that song, you think Lost Boys. Just like Jaws, the Jaws theme, you think Jaws, like fucking. You're like fuck Michael Myers, right? The minute you're like. You're like fucking Lost Boys is on.
So like, on that, you mentioned it in the opening there, and I meant to look this up. Who the fuck is the band with the shirtless saxophone player? I was watching it. I'm like, I gotta look up who this fucking band is.
I think it's a real band. I think.
I'm not. I am 100% sure that it is probably a real band, and none of those words actually go together. Nothing says the '80s like juiced up, fucking waxed, oiled up man in tight pants with a chain around his neck playing a saxophone as a lead singer of a band. I was like, this is the most 80s thing I have ever seen. Just that. I mean, I also would watch a short film about the life and times of the shirtless saxophone player.
Who's probably a part-time vampire hunter as well, right? That's his like little motto. He's just there playing and he's like, who's like still wearing a cape? That's the guy I'm going after, right?
So I mean,
go ahead.
So it's not horrible, but it is what it is. It's like, watch on a Sunday. I think I've watched this film more on like Sundays on like, I don't know, what was it, like Peachtree or Apple Tree or whatever the TV network was that you would watch like Sunday movies on, more than I ever watched it on VHS. I definitely didn't see it in the theater. It came out in 87, 78. Oh wait, I'm 35 to 45, so I'm not going to give that away. I would not have been. You
just did. People can do math. Yeah.
I mostly watch this on like TV, you know what I mean, on Sundays.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
This was same, like this was a VHS rental, right? Like when it came out, like for us in our household. But yeah, like I'm still surprised. Like, is there a horror movie you like? Because this is.
I like Halloween. I told you I like Halloween. John Carpenter's Halloween, the original Halloween, is well done. It's got great tracking shots, beautiful camera work. I mean, early Jamie Lee Curtis, like, yeah, it's great. That's about it. That's on the list. And then there's the movie that we don't talk about because it's too scary to even talk about. So.
Well, then you can't talk about it because you haven't watched it. So there we go. but I'm just going on Rotten Tomatoes quickly. So this one has a 76 theometer for critics, 85 audience.
Oh, I know, man. It's just I found it kind of boring.
I don't get how. I think in terms of editing, like, and you're always complaining about editing, they did keep it fast paced, right? Like there wasn't any really gaps. And they kept a lot of things open for the eventual sequel that, became made for TV 20 years later. But there's still, I still think there's a lot that they did with this, like, and a lot they could have done with this too, because you never got to the part where it was revealed the grandfather was a vampire as well, because he was a vampire, right?
He was a vampire hunter.
No, he was a vampire.
Is that why do you say that? He was literally out during the daytime.
So was Michael.
Michael wasn't a full vampire, that's why.
And neither was the grandfather.
So there's your thing. I don't know if I agree with that.
Here, I'll give you an example to
go.
I'll give you why. Okay, so if you start from the beginning, you have the fridge, right?
He eats food. He eats regular food. He drinks root beer and eats fucking double stuffed Oreos.
That's not root beer though. That's blood.
Oh, okay. That's a big stretch, man.
No, that's the thing they can't touch. Now, if you look at the scenes where, like, when Michael comes back after his star night, and he's wearing the sunglasses during the day, Corey Haim's eating breakfast, and then the grandfather makes the comment saying, like, oh, I wasn't the only one who had a long night. The grandfather's also wearing sunglasses inside the house during the day in the morning.
You don't get that like double entendre there. The idea of like the illusion or not illusion, alluding to the fact that like he banged and like that is not what's going on in that set of dialogue there. It's old man sex. That's what he's talking about. He sucks some blood, all right. I got his blood sucked, but it wasn't from a vampire. Okay, so I think. So this quote, I think and then I've got some notes off my quote. So Peter Travers from People magazine about The Lost Boys. It's often sloppy and thinly plotted, but that is, after all, a summer movie. And if it's nothing to really sink your fangs into, it's often very funny. And there is like, it's a superficial script. There is some like laugh out loud dialogue and stuff there, delivered really well by Corey Haim. And we can talk about just the two Corys. There's entire podcasts devoted to that. And then the note I made for myself is, it's fine. If you haven't watched it and you like cult 80s films, check it out. Otherwise, rewatch it every decade to remind you why you only watch it every decade. I mean, it's fine. It's a fine movie. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not something that's going to be in a heavy rotation in my household. That's for sure.
What is in heavy rotation at your household?
I mean, I can watch Good Will Hunting probably every fucking week if I wanted to, or The Departed. I really like The Departed. You already know I like Rush and Drive. We've had some basic like mid-level Tarantino talks. Yeah, man. Like, this is just not on my list of things that I need to go back to the well for. Even Bram Stoker's Dracula, like, I think is really well done. It stays fairly close to the original novel. Coppola did a good job with that.
Yeah,
I don't know what else you want me to say, man.
No. I'm just trying to get, after 2 years of doing this, I'm just trying to get a taste of anything, anything that's pulp culture, like that's just popular because, like, nothing in terms of like plot or anything like that. It's just like it's fucking popular.
You mean like a well-constructed film? Basically, if it's that's usually what I like. I like a well-written dialogue with proper editing and pacing, good cinematography, and even some decent acting. Yes, those things are the things I like in my films. If you haven't noticed, I'm a fucking film snob. So that said, I do like Legally Blonde and.
I was gonna say, like, sometimes just having a popcorn film is just enjoyable as well. Like, but you don't have to think about anything. You just can just sit down and be like, fuck, just sit down. Here's 90 minutes of my time, and I'm no better, I'm no worse, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, like Predator or Commando.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Or
tell
50
me
Shades of Grey.
more about this film specifically. Why do you like this film? Like, what about it do you like?
I think it goes like we were saying before, like the Goonies, right? Like when this film came out, I was just a little bit younger than the main cast, right? Like the Coreys and everything like that. And it's something that, as a child, you're like, you can imagine yourself in that environment, right? Like it captivated you, right? Now, the more I get older,
you're like, if my older sister turns into a vampire and Richard Grieco comes out of the poster, like, what would I do? Thank you, Frog Brothers, for giving me the skill set to defend my household.
Exactly, man. You go to church, you upset a baptism, get your water guns all up in there, your cantinas. But it's the same, like even the other Corey Haim film that came out around this time, like Silver Bullet, the werewolf one, Stephen King's, right? Like that one I thought was well done as well. Like it was just the perfect, like, to me, I just like the mixture of the horror element, but with the humor, right? Like it just encapsulates everything that it just, like, no, it's just fucking entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It just entertained me.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I think the score is well done. The music supervision's well done. Like the music selection for this film is great. There's definitely some interesting cinematography from Michael Chapman, who, I mean, at the time he had an Oscar nomination for Raging Bull, and he went on to be nominated for his work on The Fugitive. But I mean, he worked on Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, which are like classic films, and Raging Bull definitely has great cinematography. He also did Scrooge.
This film,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, this film was 3 weeks. Like they filmed this film in 3 weeks, right? And in terms of the cinematography, like the choices they made because of the condensed fucking shooting schedule, right? Like it's the same shot but just reversed, right?
Yeah. One of the things I really like is they use, and it's got to be a helicopter because, I mean, we don't have drones at the time, but using the like flying POV of the vampires. Like, so you're coming in over top of the ocean, or you're coming in on a car. They did a really great job with that. And I mean, again, the reason it looks like a helicopter instead of like a crane or whatever is it's a bit shaky at points. I thought that was really well done. Like I said, there were some interesting like overlays and dissolves that they used in their editing process, especially with that song playing in the background where the vampires are jumping around, and like right after he drank the blood or whatever, and they're kind of going between each scene as they dissolve into each other. It's fine. I mean, it's not all movies are going to be A fucking plus. This is like a B movie to me. I mean, especially considering the cast, and I mean, even some of the like supporting roles were filled by solid actors. But I mean, you got Jason Patrick, you've got Corey Haim, you've got Corey Feldman, and you got Kiefer Sutherland. Oh, actually, so Alex Winters is in this as well. So, do you know the reason why like the other vampires have like 6 lines of dialogue between fucking 4 or 5 of them? Like, I was like, did they just blow all their budget on like Sutherland? And they're like, sorry guys, we just don't have any money to pay you to say words in this film. Because I realized there's very little dialogue from anyone else other than Kiefer Sutherland and the Vampire Tribe. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but even with him, he says very little as well. But I think the reason why is it was something calculated in here, because this one word is said 118 times during the movie.
Michael.
Exactly.
Michael.
Yeah. That's all they had time for, right? Like he's about to drink the water, they're all like, or the wine, the blood, they're all saying Michael, right? And then they're hanging off the bridge, they're all saying Michael. They're like, listen, I don't know if you can scramble up an actual sentence, so you're just going to say one word repeatedly over again, right?
So I was looking at Joel Schumacher's like body of work, and like, so he was like the guy doing like the Brat Pack stuff in the 80s, like St. Elmo's Fire, Flatlines, which also Kiefer Sutherland and like Julia Roberts. He did Falling Down, which is fucking such a cool film, although maybe I'll go back and find it problematic. He did 8mm, which I also think is really good. And of course, he did 2 horrible fucking Batman movies. Actually, yeah. Do you like his Batman movies?
I like the Val Kilmer one.
What's that one? Batman Forever?
Yeah.
Because I think Batman and Robin was when they moved to Clooney and his nipples, his bat nipples.
Exactly, and the Bat credit card. But yeah, he did The Client. The Client was good with fucking Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a couple of those kind of
Time to Kill. That's the one that like fucking blew McConaughey all up.
Yeah, I mean he died in 2020 in June. Actually, he was 80, died of cancer. And Jim Carrey and McConaughey both, when they spoke at his funeral, said like it was because of him that their careers got launched. And I'm guessing, I don't know why Jim Carrey would say that. I mean, he had a pretty solid career before he was in Batman, but
yeah, I guess. Well,
Ace Ventura: Pet Detective made fucking him. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Or The Mask.
Or The Mask, exactly, right? So, but I mean, they both credited them for like working their career. Definitely McConaughey, like definitely 100% McConaughey. Which is interesting. So Joel Schumacher has passed away in June of 2020, and then Michael Chapman, the DOP, he died in September of that year as well, of basically like congestive heart failure. Schumacher was 80, Chapman was 84. So they died within like months of each other within the same year, obviously months of each other in their 80s. And then you have Corey Haim, who died in 2010 at like 38 years old of like pneumonia, and just was like broke, had been homeless, like a guy. He had such a huge, it's weird, you know, they talk about how he was like this huge star, but like he burned out so fast that like the stuff that we know him for is like, that's it. Like there's no other body of work that's of worth like note. Like I've got obviously Silver Bullet, Lucas, License to Drive, Dream a Little Dream. You might be too young. Do you remember the Edison twins on TV?
Off the top of my head, no.
So it's either TVO or CBC, which are Canadian for those that aren't in Canada. They were like, it was like Canadian broadcasting or the provincial broadcaster. And it was like a brother and a sister that were like super science nerds. And he was either one of the Edison twins or he was like the youngest, like one of the younger children on the Edison twins. And I was like, holy fuck, he was in that? Like, because Corey Haim he's from Toronto. And he spent some time living in Quebec. And then actually he's buried in either Toronto or in Scarborough. But just such a tragic life. Like he by like 17, 18, 19 kind of age, like he was already like a full-blown drug addict, and just his career went fucking nowhere because of it. And then he died like 38. It's fucking within my age range.
Yeah. Like I don't want to really get into him, only because I think there's a lot of substance abuse, but also other kinds of abuse that happened to him as a child, right? That kind of led him into the substance abuse that kind of most likely made him like not go into it, but like into the continue on. But he was like, this is going to be like bad to say, but kind of seen as, tragic goods, right? Like you don't kind of want them on set.
Oh yeah, I mean, he even got sued by like an insurance, like Lloyd's of London, because he didn't disclose his like addiction, and he couldn't film. Like he was not capable of fucking performing on set. So they were like, "We're suing you because you are basically in breach of contract." You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the last thing I remember him in was the Statham movie, Crank.
Oh, but yeah, no, it wasn't the first Crank. Wasn't it like Crank 2 or 6?
I think so.
Something. It was like one of the other Cranks.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, the second one, but Statham was in it too. And then he had a cameo at the end of that, made for direct to TV Lost Boys sequel.
Oh, okay.
With Kiefer Sutherland's brother playing the head vampire this time.
Ah, gotcha. The brother that's in Possessor?
Angus? No, I don't think I think it's an Angus Sutherland. I don't remember if that was the one that's in Possessor. But yeah, like I think it's just kind of sad what happened to him, right? And
well, both Corey's even though Corey Feldman's still alive, like he's fucked. Like they had that show, The Two Coreys, for a little bit. Yeah, just tragic. And like you said, like we could go on, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack when it comes to both of them, because they both had problems as child actors, and they talk about like sexual violence against them in Hollywood, and
yeah, well,
yeah.
Corey Feldman was what when this film was out? He was what, 13, 14 when
Yeah, probably
they
something like
filmed,
that.
and then he got fired on the first day of this film, and then they hired him back, but he got fired because he fucking came off of a coke binge to set and just was sleeping all day
At 14.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's kind of the tragic thing that I was saying. Like the shit that probably happened, right? Like, and it's just quiet. And I think nowadays, with like the Me Too and all that stuff, like you start hearing all the stuff that kind of was happening in the past, and it just makes you reassess it all, right?
Well, I mean, there's also a certain like high-end professional class of agents and managers now. Like, not that your parents can't still manage you and like fuck your whole life up, but like now, some of these big high-end agencies will get their hooks into you, and they'll keep you clean just because you're like a money train, right? Like they'll just keep you out of trouble for the most part, or keep it under wraps at least, because as long as you're performing, they're getting paid. Where, I mean, I read some stuff where Corey Haim was talking about, like, his parents were fucking garbage, and like they were going to like the Hollywood rap parties and stuff together as like a family, and then the parents were like dancing it up with like other like men and women, and he's just this kid, right? Like his parents are off partying and fucking letting him just be like sad in the corner. I'm like, that sucks, man. Fuck that shit. Anyway, same with, so, and it's interesting, Jason Patrick, so like he's done some good stuff, but not recently. Like, I mean, he was good in Narc. He was good in Rush, the 1991 film, not the like best, Formula One film ever made. And he was good in Sleepers, but then he kind of just like, he's got a lot of like mid-level stuff. Like, I'm surprised he didn't become more of an A-list guy. I mean, I couldn't find any like real substance problems or anything like that. Like, I don't know if he like pissed somebody off. I mean, he comes from a fairly famous family. Like his dad was a screenwriter, and his great grandfather is Jackie Gleason of like The Honeymooners, and like super, super, super famous like comedic actor. Yeah, like I don't know like what fucking happened to the guy. Like
it could just, sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes people choose, just to spend time with their family, right? And just
like Rick
you
Moranis.
have enough. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Exactly. Sometimes there isn't anything, in the background that's super sleazy or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, right? Like just yesterday? Well, a week from today, because when this actually airs, Ryan Reynolds is like, hey, I just did a bunch of fucking movies in a row. I'm gonna take a little break for a while, right? Just spend time with my family. So sometimes that's all it takes, right? Everybody needs a vacation.
An interesting note, just because of kind of like, so in The Lost Boys, Jason Patrick's character is trying to like get Star away from like the Kiefer Sutherland character, or she's being used as bait or whatever. But in real life, Jason Patrick dated Julia Roberts like within days after she canceled her wedding to Kiefer Sutherland. So I was like, oh, there's life imitating art there, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So.
Are you serious right now?
TMZ, baby.
I was gonna say, who needs national fucking? Oh my god, what was it? What was the dirt
National
gossips
Enquirer?
in America? Yeah, who needs that when you got a fucking Langford report?
Lampoon by Langford. Anyway, man, I don't really have.
I was gonna say in regards to like Jamie. Oh my god, now I'm even Braveheart in her last name, like Jamie Gertz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like fucking smart as hell. Like she owns part of the Atlanta Hawks for the NBA. I think the Milwaukee Brewers. Like she's just part. Like she invested her money very well.
Yeah. instead of blowing it on like cocaine and hookers.
So she invested her money very well, that she has a shit ton of it. Who's to say she's not blowing her money on hookers? But she just has enough of it that she's just like, it means nothing to me.
Right. I think I've said my piece on this. I mean, watch it, check it out. It's part of like pop culture, like you said. You know, people talk about it, people reference it. It's got a cool score. Our producer actually said that. So it's "People Are Strange" by The Doors, but it's actually an Echo and the Bunnyman cover. It's not the original Jim Morrison track. So
they probably couldn't afford the Jim Morrison track.
Probably, yeah. I mean, Echo and the Bunnymen are a huge '80s band, right? So, or they could have done it to make it more contemporary, right? So, I mean, they did the Pretty in Pink song and a bunch of other stuff. So they were really pumping around like '85 through to the early '90s. So, yeah, man, I got nothing else to say on this movie.
Okay, boys, let's go.
You need to open your horizons on some films, right? Like, you know, sometimes you can't just have a critical eye. You just have to have an eye for an enjoyment.
Okay. Well, when we do Legally Blonde, you'll see where my eye for enjoyment opens. So.
Oh, well, that's on the list of movies we'll never do, along with Top Gun.
Top Gun is a holy grail of movies, man.
And that is our rant for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. If you're looking to get a hold of us, please go to our website at howdyoulikethatmovie.com. All our social media links are there, and you can email us as well. So what you're saying is, if this movie gets re-released in theaters as a little matinee,
100%, 100%.
If we're gonna go watch it, I need to go like same aisle or behind, but pretty far out, so I don't get any on me.
Yeah, man, you don't want any of that backsplash. I'm gonna wear fucking shorts just so I can like
track shorts.
You're like, yo, dude, there's no popcorn in that container, and it's like, shut up, you're giving me away. Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.